But I want to back way up, and I want to hear from you. What happened? What's the story? Why did they come after Roger Stone?
Well, I'm glad to have that opportunity because, as I think you know, Chad, I was gagged unconstitutionally for 16 months. The judge had this theory that my being able to defend myself on social media or on shows like this one would somehow taint the jury pool, which is a pretty ridiculous idea in view of the fact that the Washington Post, which is the dominant newspaper in the city from whom the jury would be selected, was tainting the jury pool every day, and not in my favor, to say the least. So I guess where this really begins is in 1988. See, in 1988 was the first point at which I realized that Donald Trump, who I had met in Ronald Reagan's campaign for president when I was assigned to handle New York State, had the capacity and the strength and the vision and the independence and courage and the stamina, in fact, to be not only a great presidential candidate, but a great president. And in 1988, our choices were George H.W. Bush and Michael Dukakis, which is an extraordinarily weak choice. And I broached the idea with Donald, which is what he told me to call him. And he looked at me and he said, "You're out of your mind. I love business. I love real estate. I love what I'm doing right now. Why in the world would I want to, jump in he didn't say swamp then, but he said, why would I want to jump in the middle of that?" And I said, "Well, you were complaining a couple of days ago about how lousy these candidates are." And he said, typical Trump, "Well, you're right. I could do a better job than any of them. And if I ran, I'd win. But I've got too much on my plate in terms of real estate and the things I want to do." But we talked about it. We continued to talk about it. We talked about it again in 2000. At that point, Ross Perot, who had run as an independent twice and got a lot of votes, and Jesse Ventura, the former wrestler, who by then was governor of Minnesota, but a good friend of Donald Trump's from his days wrestling at the Trump Plaza in Atlantic City, they were both pushing Donald Trump to run as the Reform Party candidate, third party candidate at that time. We actually made some exploratory trips around the country. He stuck his toe in the water, but he correctly determined that in this country, unfortunately, one has to either be a Democrat or a Republican to get elected president. There are too many institutional barriers, legal barriers, and so on. I wanted him to run in 2012 in the worst way because I took one look at Mitt Romney and I realized the answer to the question was Donald Trump.
Right.
Mitt Romney is about as phony an individual as I've ever seen in American politics. I mean, this guy is as phony as his hair color. He's not a conservative. If he was, he would never say, "I'm severely conservative." No conservative would ever describe themselves as severely conservative. I also thought he would lose, and of course he did. Then in 2016, it all kind of, the time met the man, the moment met the man.